So this time around we want to modify our code so that we can pre-populate that form with an existing movie, getting the data from our REST backend. So the very first thing I'm going to do is in my editmovie.js, we don't need these lines anymore. They've been bothering me for a while and I keep forgetting to delete them, so now they are gone because we're actually setting our state in the constructor. Now, if we go back to our web browser, right now, we're getting to our movie to add by saying /admin/add. And I want to make that simpler. And I'm going to do that by going back to my code and going to app.js and looking at the roots. And right now I have down here on line 61 in my code, this is the path that we're matching. So we're going to /admin/add. And I'm going to change that to /admin/movie/ and then I'll give it an ID that can be different. It can be any number. So when I'm adding a movie, I'll make that 0. And when I'm editing an existing movie, I'll make that the ID of the movie in the database. So we change the path, and if we come back up here, we need to change this to admin movie add. And that's the actual link, sorry, not add, 0. I'm getting rid of the add. That's the whole point of this exercise. So that's our new path. And that means back in editmovie.js, I have access in my component did mount. I actually can check to see what the ID is. So I'll declare a constant here, const, and I'll call it ID, and that will be equal to this.props.match.params.id. And that's what I called it, was ID in the root. And now I can just check if ID is greater than 0, then I'll go get that movie. Otherwise, I'll do something else, okay? So how are we going to get that movie? Well, if you remember, we already have a means of getting a single movie using fetch. Fetch, and we're going to go to http://localhost:/v1/movie/ and then I just append ID. And then in my then clause, my first one, I'll say then my response. And first of all, I'll check to see if there's an error. If response.status is not exactly equal to 200, something went wrong. So I'll do something. I'll say let error equal error. I'll create an empty error and then say error.message is equal to invalid response code. And put the response code there, response.status with a lowercase s. And set the error. This.setState error is equal to error. And of course I have to return response.json. But if we get past that, then, and we'll take JSON and our arrow function. And here is where I actually need to do something with the date. And we haven't looked at it yet, but if you actually played with your form and tried to set the date, you notice it doesn't set quite right in the form. And we can fix that this way. Const release date is equal to new date. And here's where we take the json.movie.release date, convert it into a JavaScript date. And now we'll just set the status. And I'll do it the long way, just so we can see exactly what's going on. This.setState, and we'll set first of all our movie, and that will be equal to ID, which is the ID that we extracted from the URL. The title will be json.movie.title. The release date, here's where I'm going to format the date the way that I need it to be. It will be release date .toISO string, which is the format I want it in, and I will split that on the T that is found in the string that we get, and take the very first part of the resulting array, which will give me the year dash date dash month dash day. And that's exactly the format that I want. And then we want the runtime, which is json.movie.runtime. And now we want the MPAA rating. And that's equal to json.movie.mpaa rating. And the rating, which is json.movie.rating. And the description, which will be json.movie.description. And that's it for the movie. Now we'll set isLoaded to true. And otherwise, if there's an error, then we'll say this.setState isLoaded is true, but show us the error. Now, in the else clause, the other thing we want to do is if we're not getting the data from the back end, we still have to set isLoaded to true. Otherwise, we'll just see the loading message. So we'll say this.setState isLoaded true. And that will make sure that we see the empty form with nothing in it. So now let's go down to our render function and extract all the things we need from the state. And that would be the movie, isLoaded, and error. And we'll do a simple if statement, same as we did before. If error, then we'll say return div error and error.message. Else, if not isLoaded, then we'll return loading. Like that. Else, and then we just need to move this curly bracket all the way down to the bottom, right here, and format this, and get rid of the commented out select statement because we're not using that anymore, so that's gone. And unless we miss something, I should be able to go back to my web browser and go to Home and click on Add Movie and get a blank form. Perfect. And now if I change this to a 1, I should get the movie of ID 1 from the database. And we do. That looks good. So the last thing we have to do, eventually, is comment out this section. But I'm going to leave that there for right now, just so I can look at the data that we're posting, because the next step is to actually post a new movie to the database and have that information saved. So we'll get started on that in the next lecture.